My name is Elena, and I'm 37 years old. Today, I want to tell you about a month that changed not just my life, but the lives of everyone in my family. It's a story about connection, growth, and discovering what really matters. I'm married to David, who's 45 years old. We live in a spacious house in the suburbs, the kind of place that was meant to be filled with laughter and the sound of running feet. But we never had children. It wasn't for lack of trying or wanting. Life just had different plans for us. David works as a logistics coordinator for an international shipping company. It's demanding work that takes him across the country, sometimes for weeks at a time. He earns well, and I'm grateful for the comfortable life we have. But honestly, the money doesn't fill the silence when he's gone. Our marriage has always been solid. We love each other deeply. But over the years, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel the weight of loneliness, especially during those long nights when the house felt more like a museum than a home. I tried to fill my days. I volunteered at the local library twice a week, took up yoga, spent hours tending to my garden, but there was still something missing, a sense of purpose, of being truly needed by someone. That's when my sister Rebecca called me one Tuesday afternoon. Her voice was stressed, almost desperate. "Elena, I need to ask you a huge favor," she began. "Anything, Becca. What's wrong?" "It's Lucas. He's taking his architectural licensing exam in 6 weeks, and he needs somewhere quiet to study. Our house is chaos right now with the renovations, and his roommates are throwing parties every weekend. I know David travels a lot, but do you think Lucas could stay with you for a month? Maybe two?" I didn't even hesitate. "Of course he can. We'd love to have him." "Really? Oh, Elena, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver." When I told David that evening over the phone, he was immediately supportive. That's one of the things I've always loved about him, his generosity, his open heart. "That's perfect," he said. "I'll be gone most of the month anyway. It'll be good for you to have company. And Lucas is a great kid." The day Lucas arrived, I was surprised by how much he changed. The last time I'd seen him was at his college graduation 2 years ago, and even then he'd still seemed like a boy finding his way. Now, standing in my doorway with his duffel bag and a laptop case, he looked like a man with purpose and direction. "Aunt Alina," he said, pulling me into a warm hug, "thank you so much for letting me crash here. I promise I'll stay out of your way." "Don't be silly," I told him, ushering him inside. "You're family. And besides, this house could use some life in it." He was taller than I remembered, about 6 feet, with his father's dark hair and his mother's kind eyes. He carried himself with quiet confidence, the way people do when they're focused on a goal. I showed him to the guest room, which I'd prepared with fresh sheets and clear desk space for studying. "This is perfect," he said, looking around. "Seriously, Aunt Elena, this is exactly what I needed." "Make yourself at home, sweetheart. The kitchen is always open, and please don't feel like you need to hide away in here. I'd actually enjoy the company." That first evening, we had dinner together, just a simple pasta dish I'd thrown together. As we ate, Lucas told me about his dreams of becoming a licensed architect. He wants to design buildings that work with the environment, not against it. Sustainable architecture that's also beautiful. Buildings that make people feel good when they're inside them. "That's wonderful, Lucas. The world needs more people who think that way." He smiled. "I hope so. This exam is just the first step. It's intimidating, though. The pass rate isn't great." "You'll do fine," I assured him. "You've always been brilliant. Even when you were little, you were building the most elaborate structures with blocks." He laughed. "I'd forgotten about that. You always encouraged me, even when I knocked them all down and started over." "That's what you do when you're learning," I said. "You build, you fail, you build again. That's how you get stronger." The first week passed quietly. David had left for a 2-week trip to the West Coast, so it was just Lucas and I in the house. I found myself adjusting to the new rhythm, the sound of someone else moving around, the smell of coffee brewing at odd hours when Lucas was pulling late-night study sessions, the warmth of another presence nearby. Lucas was respectful and considerate. He kept his space tidy, always offered to help with dinner, and never made me feel like he was intruding. But I could see the stress building in him as the days went by. One morning, about 10 days into his stay, I found him in the kitchen at 6 a.m., staring at his laptop with a look of pure frustration. His hair was disheveled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "Lucas, honey, did you sleep at all?" I asked, concerned. He ran his hands through his hair. "A couple hours. I've been stuck on this structural engineering problem since midnight. I can't figure out where I'm going wrong, and it's making me doubt everything I know." I sat down beside him with my morning coffee. "Show me." "Aunt Elena, you won't understand it. It's really technical. But I might not understand the specifics, but sometimes talking through a problem helps. Humor me." He sighed, but started explaining the problem. It involved load-bearing calculations and stress distributions, things that were completely over my head. But as he talked, I watched his face, saw the wheels turning in his mind. "Wait," he said suddenly, his eyes widening. "Wait, I've been approaching this completely wrong. I was calculating the distributed load, but I should have been—" He started typing furiously, numbers and diagrams appearing on his screen. 5 minutes later, he leaned back with a huge smile. "I got it! Aunt Elena, you're a genius!" I laughed. "I didn't do anything. I barely understood a word you said." "No, you did everything," he insisted. "Just having someone sit with me, listen to me think out loud, it made all the difference. At school, I always studied alone. I forgot how helpful it can be to have someone present, even if they're not solving the problem for you." From that moment on, something shifted between us. We became a team, not in the studying, I couldn't help with that, but in creating an environment where he could thrive. I started making more elaborate breakfasts, ensuring he had proper fuel for his brain. We'd eat together and talk about everything except architecture. His childhood, my stories about his mother when we were young, funny memories of family gatherings. "I never knew Mom got suspended from school for that," he laughed one morning when I told him about Rebecca's rebellious phase. "Oh yes, your grandmother was mortified, but your mom was always the brave one, standing up for what she believed in, even if her methods were questionable." During lunch breaks, Lucas would find me wherever I was, in the garden, folding laundry, reading on the porch, and we'd talk. Really talk, not the surface-level conversations you have at holidays, but deep discussions about life, dreams, fears, and regrets.
One afternoon, we were working together in the garden. I was teaching him how to properly prune the roses, and he was surprisingly attentive for someone I'd expected to find gardening boring. "You know, Aunt Elena," he said thoughtfully as he carefully cut a dead branch, "I've been thinking a lot about my life lately." "Oh, what about it?" He was quiet for a moment, considering his words. "I've been so focused on my career, on achieving this one goal after another. Graduate college, get my degree, pass my licensing exam, land a job at a prestigious firm. But I haven't really thought about what comes after that, or what I'm missing along the way." "What do you think you're missing?" I asked gently. "Connection, I guess. Real connection. I have classmates and colleagues, but not really friends. People I study with, but not people I share my life with. And I definitely don't have what you and Uncle David have." I smiled sadly. "Lucas, what David and I have is good, but it's not perfect. No relationship is, I know, but you have something real. Something built on years of commitment and actually showing up for each other." He paused, then added, "Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Does it bother you that Uncle David is gone so much?" I sat back on my heels, really considering the question. "Honestly, yes, sometimes it does. There are nights when I feel incredibly lonely, when I wonder what our life would be like if he worked locally, if we came home to each other every evening. But David loves his work, and he's good at it. And when he is home, we make the most of our time together. Do you ever resent it?" Lucas asked quietly. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but resentment is poison, Lucas. It eats away at everything good. So instead, I've learned to build a life that's fulfilling even when he's not here. My volunteering, my hobbies, my friendships. And I've learned to appreciate our time together instead of mourning the time apart." Lucas nodded slowly. I think I've been lonely for a long time without really admitting it to myself. I just kept busy, told myself that relationships could wait until I'd achieved my goals. But watching you, being here with you, it's made me realize that connection is the goal. Everything else is just the stuff we do along the way. I reached over and squeezed his hand. That's a wise insight for someone your age. It took me much longer to figure that out. Better late than never, right? He smiled. As the weeks passed, I noticed changes in both of us. Lucas seemed more relaxed, more grounded. He still studied intensely, but he took breaks. He'd come find me, and we'd take walks around the neighborhood or watch old movies together in the evening. He started cooking dinner twice a week, teaching me recipes he'd learned from roommates over the years, and I felt more alive than I had in years. Having someone to care for, someone who needed me and appreciated my presence. It filled something inside me I hadn't even realized was empty. One evening, we were sitting on the back porch watching the sunset. Lucas had just finished a particularly brutal practice exam and needed to decompress. "Do you ever wish you'd had kids, Aunt Alina?" he asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. It wasn't something people usually asked directly. "Yes," I said simply. "Every day. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "No, it's okay," I interrupted. "It's a fair question. David and I tried for years. We saw specialists, tried treatments. Nothing worked. Eventually, we had to accept that it just wasn't going to happen for us. That must have been really hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through." I admitted. There were days when I felt like I'd failed at the most basic thing women are supposed to be able to do. Days when I couldn't go to baby showers or be around pregnant friends because it hurt too much. How did you get through it? I thought about it. Time, mostly. And therapy. And eventually, acceptance. We had to grieve the life we'd imagined and learn to build a different life that was still meaningful and full. It's not the same, but it's ours. Lucas was quiet for a long moment. "For what it's worth, I think you would have been an amazing mother." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means more than you know. And also," he continued, "you've been pretty amazing to me this month. Maybe being an aunt is its own kind of mothering." I pulled him into a hug, unable to speak around the lump in my throat. The weekend David came home, I was nervous. I'd talked to him on the phone every few days, but I hadn't told him how much having Lucas here had affected me, how much it had changed my perspective on our life. But David noticed immediately. "You look different," he said after greeting Lucas and settling in. "Happy, really happy." That evening, after Lucas had gone to bed, David and I sat together in our bedroom. "Having Lucas here has been good for you," he observed. "It has," I agreed. "It's reminded me of what I'm capable of, how much I enjoy nurturing and mentoring, how much I've missed having that kind of purpose." David took my hand. "Elena, I need to tell you something. I've been offered a different position at work." My heart sank. "More travel. Less, actually, much less. It's a management position based here locally. I'd be home every night. But it's a pay cut, about 20%. I stared at him. "You're considering it?" "I've already accepted it," he said quietly. "I start in 2 months, Dar. But David, why?" "I know how much you love your current job." "I love you more," he interrupted. "And being here with you and Lucas this weekend, seeing how alive you are, how happy, it made me realize what I've been missing. What we've both been missing. We've been living parallel lives, Elena. I want us to live the same life together." I started crying then, and David held me while I processed everything I was feeling: joy, relief, gratitude, and a little fear about what this change would mean. "Are you sure?" I whispered. "I've never been more sure of anything. We'll adjust to the income change. We don't need a house this big. We don't need most of what we have. What we need is each other, present and engaged." The next morning at breakfast, David told Lucas about his decision. "That's incredible, Uncle David," Lucas said. "Good for you. Having you here helped me see what was important," David admitted. Watching Elena come alive again, seeing how much she thrived having someone to care for, it made me realize I've been selfish. I've been living my dream while asking her to put hers on hold. "I never thought of it that way," I said. "Neither did I until now." David smiled. "We're a team. It's time I started acting like it." The last week of Lucas's stay flew by. He was confident now, ready for his exam. But more than that, he seemed different, more grounded, more connected to what really mattered. "I've been thinking," He told me one evening while we were making dinner together. After I pass this exam, and I will pass it, thanks to you, I want to start a mentorship program, something for young architects who need guidance and support. That's a wonderful idea, Lucas. You inspired it, he said. The way you've been there for me, listened to me, created this space where I could focus and grow, that's what I want to give to others. I spent so much time competing and trying to prove myself that I forgot about helping others along the way. I think you'll be amazing at it. I told him honestly. On his last morning with us, we all had breakfast together. It was bittersweet. I'd miss having him in the house, but I was proud of how far he'd come. Aunt Elena, Uncle David, Lucas said, putting down his fork. I need to thank you both properly. When I came here, I thought I just needed a quiet place to study. But what I really needed was to remember what matters. You two showed me what commitment looks like, what real partnership means. You showed me that success isn't just about achieving goals. It's about the connections you build and the lives you touch along the way. I reached across and took his hand. You did the same for us, sweetheart. You reminded us of what we'd been missing, and you gave us the push we needed to make changes. You're welcome here anytime, David added. Always. This is your home, too. As Lucas's car pulled out of the driveway, I stood with David's arm around me, waving until he disappeared around the corner. Ready for our new chapter? David asked. I leaned into him. More than ready. The following months brought changes. David transitioned to his new role, and for the first time in our marriage, we had regular routines together. Dinner every night. Weekend mornings in bed. Evening walks around the neighborhood. I started volunteering at a youth mentorship center downtown, working with teenagers who needed guidance and support. It filled the same need that caring for Lucas had awakened in me. 3 months after he left, Lucas called with news. I passed! Top 15%! We celebrated over video chat, and Lucas told us about his plans. He'd been offered a position at a sustainable architecture firm, and he was already organizing his mentorship program. I want you to come to the launch, he said. You're both the reason this exists. At the launch event 2 months later, I watched Lucas speak to a room full of young architects about the importance of connection, community, and supporting each other. He caught my eye during his speech and smiled. My aunt taught me something important this summer, he said to the crowd. She taught me that being present for someone, truly present, is one of the greatest gifts you can give. Not fixing their problems or solving things for them, but just being there, listening, creating space for them to grow. That's what this program is about, creating that space for all of you. After the event, as the 3 of us went out to dinner, Lucas raised his glass.